My BF and I were supposed to move in together. 2 weeks ago, he bought a 87K truck without telling me. I refused to move in with him. I'm very annoyed. He didn't even speak to me about it. We had so many discussions about moving in together, getting married, and then he goes and purchases a truck 2K more than his yearly salary. If you're asking how can a truck be 87K, that's the price you get when you put every addition you want on it. He showed me the truck expecting me to be excited, and I was livid. When he bought this truck, we were only a month from moving in together. We got into a bad argument where he told me it was his money and he could do whatever he wanted with it. So I said fine, and I told him I'm not comfortable moving in with him anymore. I asked my landlord if my apartment was still available and if I could renew my lease, and they said yes. Now my BF is saying he can't afford his place and his truck. I don't feel bad. You should have thought of that before buying something so expensive without talking to your GF of 2 years. I have had some of his friends GF reach out to me and say I should support him, and one even say that I'm not loyal, and this shows I wouldn't support him if we were married, since I run away when finances get bad. That's bullshit. He didn't lose his job or get hurt. He bought an expensive item without discussing it. I have been trying to get him to return the truck because it's already affecting his finances badly. He has only had this truck for 2 weeks, and he is worried that in the next month or two, he won't be able to cover all the expenses he usually has. This past weekend, we had another argument, and I think our relationship is going to end. I'm not helping him pay for this truck, and I'm not moving in with him. I have asked for a break and will be thinking about what to do. Update 6 days later. Yay, so I broke up with him mainly because I realized we aren't financially compatible. Before I go into what happened, I do want to say something. I understand we weren't married, but we were both moving together into a new place and had several discussions about this move and our plans for the future, including marriage. For the people private messaging me saying it's his money and he can do whatever he wants, or you're only 2 years into a relationship, you're not a wife. I know that, and I have never asked what is in his bank account or told him what to do financially. I'm aware it is his money, but I also know his financial situation, and he was making decisions without my input that, if we were to stay together, would not only affect him but also our relationship and our financial situation for years to come. I will die on this hill. This is not okay, and if it's okay for you, that's fine, but for me, if we make a financial plan and you make a huge decision without me, I won't be okay with it, and that's a big reason why I backed out of moving into a new apartment with him. I would have never made a decision like this without his input at all. The main reason why we decided to move in together was to take the next step in our relationship, but also to pay down our debts. I now have 22K debt from student loans and a car. When I met him, though, it was around 60K, and I was basically living on credit cards. Within the first couple of months of us dating, I saw how hard he worked, and with a salary at 85K, he was making huge progress in paying off his loans and credit cards. On my end at the time, I was only making 50K. I honestly saw his work ethic and was like, wow, and got serious about my debt. I got a second part-time job where I was making 32K a year, bringing my salary to 82K. I did that so that I could pay off my debts faster, but also so that we could be on equal footing when we moved in together, and he didn't have to pay significantly more in living expenses than me when he had more debt. We did a complete budget months before we moved in together and realized that we would each have $700 extra a month to put towards our own individual budgets. This is why the purchase of this truck was so surprising to me. We had planned this move for months. We had a budget, and he destroyed that plan with the truck. If he wanted a new car, there are plenty of cars he could have gotten that would have fit into the $700 monthly surplus he had. Anyway, for the past few days before we broke up, he tried to show me that this truck was a good financial purchase, and we could still move in together. He told me that he had actually budgeted for this, and could show me how he could afford this. I wanted to hear him out, so I went to his place, and he had 2 budgets. He said he had been thinking of getting this truck for some time, and he had worked out a budget beforehand. He showed me the first budget, and after his truck, insurance, expenses, and his debts, he was left with $115 for the month. I noticed with the first budget, he didn't include groceries, his hobbies, going out, or even gas for his car. I asked him how $115 was enough to live off of for an entire month. I asked him how he could afford all of this and his truck, and if he planned to give up some things. He said no, he didn't plan to give up anything, and that he could make everything work in his budget. I asked him what if he had an emergency or needed gas for his truck, and he just kept saying he would work it out without explaining how. After I saw the first budget, I asked to see the documents for the car, and that's how I found out the truck price was $95K total after taxes, registration, and fees. He traded in his reliable 2003 Toyota and all his savings to get a loan at 14% for 72 months. His monthly payment is now $1,966, and insurance is $573. He also still has student loans, which are significant. I kept telling him $115 left over monthly wasn't enough. That's when he showed me his second budget, which had a combined higher monthly income. I asked him if he was getting a second job, and he said due to his job relying on him to be on call, he couldn't. I asked where the income was coming from, and this man said, "Well, you're getting a raise soon." I froze because I had mentioned this raise once months ago. My first job is my career job, and I work in a field where when you hit certain milestones, you get a pay bump. In September, if my raise is approved, I will go from 50K to 80K, and with my second job, my total yearly income will be 112K. But getting the raise isn't a guarantee. You have to meet certain criteria, and if you don't, you have to wait 3 months before trying again. When he said that, I was quiet, and then I said, "So you planned a budget that included additional income that I wouldn't get for at least 6 months, and income that I might not even get in September?" He said when I got my raise, the ratio of what he would pay would decrease, and he would have more disposable income. I asked him why it was okay for him to plan budgets with my income, but yet I had no say in how he spent his. He couldn't answer that. I told him I had no issue with paying more bills if I got a raise, but the fact that he banked on that, didn't discuss it, and now expects me to be okay with this is ridiculous. I also said there's no way I wouldn't be paying more with the first budget because he wouldn't have been able to survive on $115. I told him he didn't communicate, and this is on him because he made huge financial plans without discussing anything. Finally, I told him I would never have done any of this without going to him first because I thought we were a team that was building something. I ended things the next day, and he has been trying to reach out, but I'm not interested. He has financially crippled himself with this truck. If with my income now, he could barely make it, he sure isn't making it on his own. I really hope that things work out for him and he is able to keep his truck and recover, but I'm not paying the consequences for such a massive financial mistake that is going to hugely affect him for years to come. If I were to stay, this financial decision affects me as well and would continue to affect both of us for years. Again, this is different from becoming ill or losing a job. He chose this and refuses to budge and fix it. I now realize we are not financially compatible, and that's okay, and I wish him the best. Edit. Thanks everyone for all the support. I don't hate my ex, and I really hope he's able to recover from this. It was such a learning lesson for me in how one mistake can ruin you financially. It has made me even more cautious, but also determined to keep working towards a better financial future for myself.